It is January the 26th, 2026. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the Light Gate on UPRN, the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. On the Gulf Coast. We are on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. We are going to thank our sponsors. We love you guys. You've been with us since last year, and you do many good things for our channel, and we're very happy for you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to hand it over to Preston because one of my favorite people's on tonight. So go, Preston, go.
Actually, we have two people on tonight. So
yes, I knew Preston as well. That's right.
So yeah, thank you, Dolly. Thank you, everyone. It's episode 145 of the Light Gate. We're that close now to 3 full years. Darn, I was going to say 2 or 3. Of course, your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. And what else can we say? She's a full-fledged contactee. I'm a researcher and a little bit of a contactee. But yeah, we're so excited. Thanks for joining us. Got a very special show for you today. It's not often we get to have 2 guests at once, but we do this time, and I'll introduce them in just a second. I get a few minutes to say hello to you guys, just a few, but we love you guys so much. We love seeing all these regular viewers and new ones too. And who do we have today? Let's see. We have Teresa Levine.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Teresa. A regular, as is Little Dove, and there's Carbone. Thank you. And we have Sharice Bazira.
Yes.
Hello. We got Nick. We have our dear Michael Kennedy. Going to be enjoying this show. Michael, hope you're doing well. We have Orion Constellation, my favorite constellation.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, because that's where the ETs are. They're there. Just saying. We have Jay Kirshenman. We have the Owlman. And
hello.
Namaste. We absolutely adore you. Namaste. Thank you for your generosity and support. We can always count on you. It's just amazing. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have Louise. We have Chris. We have, Jay Kirshenman says it's 11 degrees here. Is that where we're at?
We're at 4. Thank you very much. I'm freaking out.
We beat you.
I've got the fireplace running all day. No kidding.
Jeez, I just thought I heard a bear out there. Wouldn't surprise me.
Lord. I know.
We have Olivia Escamilla.
Hello.
Let's see. Quite a few people here. Z Sun Dragon.
Hey, Z Sun. How's it going?
Get your questions in early, guys.
Yep.
We got My Bud. We got Stargazer. We got Texas Cacti. Happy Blizzard of 26.
Oh, thank you.
On Fox TV, Shelly, Carrie Bell, Dolly Darling, miss you. Aw, isn't that sweet?
Carrie, I know who this is. I've known Carrie a long time.
Wow.
Long time. So
we got Sleepy Howell. We have Lynn Miffitz. We got quite a crowd here today. Thank you guys for joining us. Super excited. Let's get to our guests. If I missed your name, I do apologize. You can punish me later. Let me put our banner up for our guests. So excited. Katie Paige was actually our 6th guest on the Light Gate 2 years ago. Here we are at episode 145. We've grown a lot bigger, but we have 2 guests tonight. We are so happy and proud to welcome Katie Paige and Tony Angiola. I hope I pronounced that correctly. At any rate, let me tell you a little bit about them. Tonight's guests are 2 respected voices in the world of UFO and high strangeness research. I'll start with Tony. Tony brings a deep background in information technology and decades of UFO investigation experience. And in fact, he is a former assistant state director for MUFON Virginia. Believe me, that takes some real knowledge of this field to reach that level in MUFON. Tony has been studying UFO phenomena since the early 1990s. That's very close to when I got involved in this field. He became an investigator in 1999, working alongside Ben Moss and Ray Stanford. How cool is that? on the famous Socorro Landing Case with Lonnie Zamora. You may have heard of that case. Perhaps we'll get into that a little bit. Tony has appeared on the History Channel's Hangar 1 and NASA's Unexplained UFO files. And today he continues his work with Rocky Mountain Ranch Research in Colorado Springs. Joining him is Katie Paige, author, researcher, and a leading explorer of high strangeness. She's the director of the Rocky Mountain Ranch Research. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. She's at the forefront of investigations as one of the most active and well-documented paranormal hotspots in the U.S. Oh, it is. We'll talk about that, I hope, a little bit. Her work has been featured on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, The Unexplained, UFO Witness, and more. She also hosts the Trifecta podcast and co-hosts the UAP Studies Podcast, bringing major voices in the field into public conversation. Both doing amazing work. Wow. Together, Tony and Katie dive deep into UFOs, paranormal phenomena, cryptids, and the mysteries that continue to challenge our understanding of reality. Katie Paige is the author of Letters of Love and Light, 4 Decades of UFO Encounters, Experiences, and Sightings Shared with Ufologist R. Leo Sprinkle, Ph.D., my hero for sure, and co-author with our other guest, Tony Angiola of Snippy the Horse, UFOs, Mutilations, and the Coverup that started it all. I think Tony Angiola helped with another book. You'll have to correct me, Tony, or add that in. But at any rate, without further ado, let's bring in our esteemed guests.
Hello, Katie. Hello, Tony.
It's so great to be here. I just love you guys. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Pleasure and an honor. So did you have another book that you worked on, Tony? Or
Yeah, Ben and I did Socorro, Not of This World. Socorro UFO.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that. I wanted to make sure people knew about that because that's such an important landmark case.
We recently re-released it last June because since Ray Stanford passed away, we acquired the actual photograph of the craft that landed there, and we shared that in the back of the book.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, very cool. Okay. Well, let's get started. As I warned you in the green room, I told you how I like to start each show. Whenever I see adults, I imagine them as little kids running through the forest, picking flowers or collecting tadpoles or what have you. I can't help it. I'm a little kid at heart, and that's just the way I see people. So I'm curious because it's always amazing to me that people get involved in this field, which is such a fringe topic, so interesting, of such crucial importance. How did you get involved in this field? Were you believers? Did you have were you skeptics? How did that all unfold for you?
Who wants to go first?
Why don't you go first?
You want me to go first? Well, for me, like so many of us, we often hear that these things could be generational in families. So my grandfather in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, actually had a sighting of an oblong-shaped craft over Lake Como, investigated by J. Allen Hynek. I think, Dolly, in San Francisco, we were talking to Paul about all that stuff. Fast forward, moved to Colorado. And then in the mid 70s, from 75 to 78, this is where Linda Moulton Howe got her start actually as an investigative journalist. My mother starts dating a gentleman from her work. She worked for United Airlines as a computer operator. And they buy this mysterious ranch that we didn't know anybody knew anything about. We didn't know it was investigated, nothing, but a lot of strange things happen there. You name it, from the paranormal to cryptids, to everything, the UFOs and orbs and everything. Yeah. And so years go by, raise a family, but those questions kept coming up. What was all that from my childhood? All of that. And so I found out about MUFON, joined the Mutual UFO Network, came in right as an investigator, worked my way up to the Colorado State Director. And during my years with MUFON, I picked up this book, Hunt for the Skinwalker, and turned to other hotspots and started reading about a ranch in Colorado. Turns out that was the ranch of my childhood. And that's how I got to know the late Dr. Leo Sprinkle, and worked on, this book for 3 years, which is really a culmination of Dr. Leo Sprinkle's work. And I kind of took all the best parts of all the letters and correspondence from around the world and organized them into chapters. So that was a labor of love. And I was so happy to get that to Leo before he passed away. And really, it's just been, for me, trying to figure out how much of this is Black access military MK Ultra projects out there and how much of it is actual unexplained phenomena. And it's just been a rabbit hole ever since. So that's basically my story
Ooh.
in a nutshell.
All right. Well, I want to know the answer to that, but yeah, let's hear from Tony.
Mine's not that long. Basically, my senior year of high school, my computer teacher gave me this book, Light Years, and I wasn't really much of a reader. I don't know why he thought I would read this book, but I turned the first few pages and it was captivating. I ripped through that book. Next thing you know, I have a small library, and since I moved here, we joined our libraries, and we have more books than we know what to do with now. That's pretty much it. I mean, as a child, I had some weird dreams I couldn't explain, but it was more of, I liked the research behind it all, looking to find the answers. And at first I believed everything. And then after about a decade of doing this stuff, you start to get a little bit more
Jaded.
a little more strict.
Selective is a good word. Yeah.
Less
Okay.
selective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Curated. Yeah.
Wait, that's too short. I want to know more. How did you get into like MUFON and
Yeah. Okay. So, so as I mentioned, I got started in the 90s. I investigated in the early years. I had a small family, so it was really hard to get out when you have to take your little kids. But then fast forward into, I think it was like 2013 or right around that time, I met Ben Moss at a Business International meeting because I was doing IT, passing out cards, trying to meet people, get business. And I don't know how it happened. Ben and I were filling our breakfast plates at this, this bar at the hotel. And we just both started talking about UFOs like that, like as if we knew each
Wow.
other. And he says, well, I'm the lead investigator for Virginia MUFON. You should come to a meeting. And next thing I know, I'm assistant state director.
Oh my
And
goodness. Okay,
we're
so
doing hundreds of cases. And
where in Virginia do you live?
well, now I'm with Katie in Colorado.
Okay, where did you live?
I live near Dulles Airport.
Really? Wow. Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Virginia's beautiful. We drove through Virginia not too long ago. It's a beautiful.
It is if you don't have allergies. I had terrible
I don't.
allergies. And, yeah. I get to Colorado and I had trouble breathing at first at this altitude because we're at over 9,000 feet. But
Yeah.
as soon as
What?
I got acclimated,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
You're
As
way
soon as I
up
got
there.
acclimated, I was like, wow, there's no bugs here. There's no humidity to worry about,
The cold feels
The
different, doesn't
cold
it?
feels completely
It's a
different.
dry
Yeah, it is.
cold. It's not a wet cold.
Yeah.
Right. When we were in
9,000.
Colorado, it was no problem. No problem at all.
She
How
goes,
Here-
cold is
I
it
feel
there?
the snow outside and it's all powder. You can just blow it out of the way.
I just did that yesterday.
Yeah.
So 9,000 feet. I have to know how cold it is outside right now.
It's like a dry zero.
Yeah, it was like 3 earlier, so it's probably down to 0 right now. It's chilly,
All
but
right.
it could be this cold in blue skies, so it's kind of deceiving.
And we're so happy to have our furnace working again because we spent 2 weeks camping in this house,
Yeah,
burning
furnace
through all of our firewood.
for
Oh
2
my God.
weeks, but it was
Katie
pretty
goes, are you
nice.
going to stay up all night and keep that fire going? Because I'm going to bed.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh,
now
you
we
look
hear the
cozy
heater
now.
come on, and we're like, whoa, music!
Oh, it's
to our
like music to our ears. Yeah.
Heat.
Wow.
Let the angel begin singing. Yeah. I can't even
Very
imagine.
cool.
That's crazy. Yeah.
All
Wow.
right. So we got so much to talk about. I don't know. You
Yeah.
grew up on this ranch. You have hundreds of investigations. You got this new book out. Where do you guys want to start? What do you want to focus on? There's a
Well,
lot to talk about.
Yeah, I think the best place to start, I mean, doing all the work that I did on the Rocky Mountain Ranch, which in the days of APRO, which is the Aerial Research Phenomena Organization, it was known as the Clearview Ranch. I think, Preston, it's in one of your books, actually.
Yes, it is. I wrote
It is.
UFOs over Colorado, and of course, that came up more than once. I'm like,
Right. And through that channel, a gentleman by the name of Kerry King, who is the great nephew of Nellie King, started
Who's Nellie King?
Nellie King is one of the owners of Snippy the Horse, and Snippy the Horse is really, before viral was viral, the Snippy case went viral around the world. It was really the first worldwide known animal mutilation. It wasn't the first mutilation, but the first really recognized mutilation back in September of 1967. And so anyway, so Kerry King decides to, there's the cover of the book. That's the new cover. We had to change the cover due to the graphic nature of our original cover.
So we put the old cover inside.
Yeah, we put the old cover inside because
So
it was
nobody misses that. It's
yeah.
original art from the case.
Yeah, it was original art from 1967, the original cover, but we had to change it. So Kerry King gets a hold of me because he knew of my work with Colorado MUFON and the Rocky Mountain Ranch, invited me out for his first trial run in the San Luis Valley for an event that he calls Snippy. It's a great event. They're having it again this year, open to the public. You can go to Snippy 2026 to find out more information. We have great speakers coming, Dr. Shock, Mark D'Antonio, the
Nice.
John Dover
Freddie
and Stan,
Silva.
Freddie Silva. I think we have
Ben Moss will be out there.
Ben Moss, Tony, and gosh, so many. There's so many.
Oh,
I
Eric
can't get
Hecker.
Eric Hecker will be there, and Diane Hennessy Powell. It's going to be a really cool event.
Seth Talk.
Seth Talk. Yep. So anyway,
I know a couple of those. Yeah.
yeah. So I got invited out year one. Year two comes along, and the family presents some photographs, and we had this confusion about the name of the horse. And
Yes, I know about this.
yeah. So I'm
Ask
talking
Preston,
about
what do they call Snippy?
What do they call Snippy?
Snippy's real name is Lady, right?
That's what they
Right,
say, isn't
that's
it?
what they said. So we were having this discussion, and it was a mystery still. Well, that a few months later, as fate would have it, David Marler out of Rio Rancho, New Mexico, he has the National UFO Historical Record Center, acquires the long lost APRO files. And of
Yay.
course, me being Rocky Mountain Ranch, I was so excited to go and find the original Rocky Mountain Ranch document. So for me, luckily, it's only a 5-hour drive from where I am. And I drive to the archives to research the ranch. And Dave walks over to the table and just plops down a stack of original APRO Snippy case files, audio cassettes, and long lost photographs.
Woo.
And what I thought was really just the first animal mutilation, just strictly talking about mutilations, turned into be my jaw was on the floor for months on end with all the commonalities and similarities to the Rocky Mountain Ranch or the Clearview Ranch. And we're going to get into that on this show because I just couldn't believe it. But in that archives, if you want to bring up, Preston, the very first picture, that I was on the phone right away with Kerry King. This is a picture of Smokey the horse and Sheba, and this is Nellie King. This would be Kerry King's great aunt that owned Snippy, and her mother, Agnes King. And Smokey, what I found out in the documents, that black horse there, who was 1,200 pounds, 14 hands high, passes away or dies mysteriously the week before Snippy.
In the same meadow.
In the same meadow, in the same pasture, because there were 4 horses pastured there. There was Lady, a dapple gray,
Who's Snippy's mother?
Snippy, the male gelding Appaloosa colt, and then there's Sheba. And you can see on Sheba here that Agnes is holding. There's no markings on Sheba's leg. And then Smokey. And they, in the reports that we found, because everything, the research Tony and I have done, it all strictly 100% comes from audio recordings, documents, photographs from the case itself. And Smokey supposedly died from a rattlesnake bite to the hip. But in doing the research and talking to, horse owners, a rattlesnake would really have to get a horse that large on the snout or on the throat to obstruct the breathing. So Smokey's death remains a mystery. But the most incredible photographs never seen before were in those files. And I can't tell you how excited I was to share these with the King family. And if you want to bring those up, Preston, the only known pictures of Snippy as a colt.
They had to make these positive from the negatives because the original photos were lost.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
So that's Snippy and his mother Lady. As you can see, they're 2 totally different horses. And for the confusion of the whole name Lady comes about not in the 60s, not in the 70s, but in the 80s, when Burl Lewis was interviewed by Linda Moulton Howe and then later by Chris O'Brien. And he told them the same story, that Snippy was the horse that he rode. It was Lady who was killed, but that wasn't true at all because we have proof that Lady is alive after Snippy's death.
Yeah.
And we have that photo also in the next ones coming up here.
Yeah. What was cool about these photographs, Preston and Dolly, is these photographs are 8x10 and they're in these folded up cards. And in the cards is the original typed out document of where these came from. They had to get them printed from the negative, and it clearly states, this is 1 month old Snippy with mother lady. Also, it's kind of interesting. We tried to guess, and you can only speculate so much on why the confusion. But one thing in the documents, there's a quote from Agnes King stating that Nellie gets Snippy as a birthday present, and Snippy is actually born in Estes Park, Colorado, and so
That document has the whole provenance.
yeah,
of
the
Snippy.
whole provenance of Snippy's in the case files, and so she gets him as a birthday present. She has to wait 2 years before they bring him home to the King Ranch in Alamosa. But when they do, they would go visit him, and she would comment that Snippy, because you have to remember 1967, Jackie O and the Kennedys are really popular, and they were quoted as saying, "Look at that proud little pony, prances around like Jackie Kennedy."
And would use the pronoun she.
And would use the pronoun she when comparing Snippy to Jackie Kennedy, because he was such a proud little colt.
And that wasn't the only time. They actually
Yeah.
wrote she on a lot of the photographs, and they would speak she and he in the same sentence.
Okay, so I'm a little confused then, because
Snippy was a
he was a male gelding.
Yeah, male gelding.
Snippy was the actual one that was mutilated, but then everyone
Snippy
thought
was
it was lady,
mutilated.
but it really was Snippy.
It really was
Snippy.
Snippy.
He was the only Appaloosa that they
Was
owned
he,
out of
was he
4
gelded
different
before
horses.
he came to live with her?
What?
Was he gelded before he came to live with her?
No.
Yes, I think he was.
Was
because
he
that's why he
before?
stayed in Denver. I mean,
Oh
the
yeah,
area.
because they did
Yeah,
castrate
they took
him.
care of
Yeah.
all that there before they brought him home. That was one of the reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've been to that area, right where the Sand Dune National Monument is, San Luis Valley. It's a beautiful area. And
you're familiar with the sand dunes, right? So there's this wonderful photograph Don Richmond takes towards the sand dunes to kind of show where this all took place. And Katie found a UFO in the sky. And we're like, well, look at that. There's a UFO. And then she found another one in another photograph with the 2 horses.
Yeah, there were how many photographs do you think were in the APRO files? Maybe 90?
There were a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
I would say more than 75, less than 100, right
Yeah.
in there. We never
Yeah.
physically counted them, but there were a lot of photographs, never seen before. And
of various things like the evidence on the ground, the footprints, the holes in the ground around the bushes that we'll talk about, the burn marks and things
all
like
right.
that.
I think you sent the one with the UFO in it, because I see one with a glowing object. So
yeah, that might be
we'll
it.
get to that.
I don't think I sent that one.
No?
I don't think I sent it. No.
All right. Well,
Well, it's in the book. It's in the book and it's
Wait,
circled.
You should have the second picture of Snippy and Lady and Burl. That's
not this one.
It's not that one. There's another one
Okay.
of Snippy as a colt with Lady and Burl in the photograph.
All
And
right.
what's really cool is, I had a couple really nice long conversations with Linda Moulton Howe. Oh, this one's very important.
Probably one of the most
important. And this was a series of 4 photographs. And basically in the documents, it stated that these horses were very gentle, loving pets, and they would take sugar cubes out of your hand. After Snippy's mutilation, they became very skittish. And this photograph right here, and all of them had the writing underneath them. It said, Lady, Snippy's mother, these 2 horses, Sheba and Lady, were the horses that were with Snippy in pasture when killed, only witnesses to Snippy's murder. So you can see Lady's, this is Lady and Alice Richmond. You can see Lady's tail.
very much alive.
Very much alive, Lady. This is after the fact. Her tail's between her legs, and they were very skittish afterwards. They were never quite the same after Snippy's mutilation. Also in the documents, it stated that Snippy was only taught to halt and lead, was never saddled, was never shod. And actually, they were going to put a saddle on Snippy for the first time a week. He was scheduled to be saddled a week after his mutilation. So, Burl stated that, oh, Snippy's the horse I rode. Not true. Nobody rode Snippy, ever. He was never saddled.
Okay, so here's Burl, right?
Yeah, and you can see this is that card I told you about, and you can read underneath there that, this was an 8x10 made out of a negative with Burl, Mother Lady. I don't have my glasses. Oh, here's my glasses. Hold on, let me get it. It says, here is an 8x10 color photo I had printed up. It shows Burl Lewis with Lady, Snippy's mother, and Snippy as a colt. The photo did not come out too good because of the quality of the negative, but it does show the colt. It is possible with a little smaller photo we can get a little plainer picture. I have the negative, so if you wish, I can have a smaller picture printed up. Don Richmond, he was an APRO
He
reporter.
was the
right?
lead APRO investigator on the case.
So
Wow.
can you imagine the excitement to share these with the King family? And then we can talk about later too, you know, meeting or talking with Leona Wellington, who was there, and others that were there that verify along with the audio recordings as well.
So what date did all this go down?
Well, Snippy went missing on September 7th. He didn't come in for water or feed, and Agnes made a comment to Harry that Snippy hadn't come to feed. That same day, incidentally, she went out her front door and saw was a UFO above her trees, like no bigger than a Volkswagen Bug, and it was very shiny and reflective, but she didn't have her glasses on. It made no sound. And on the 24th of September, that same UFO will return. It would come from Mount Blanca, which is to the east, and it would travel southwest over the ranch. But he did not show up on the 7th. On the 8th, Harry King didn't have time to find him, and he said he would have to wait till the next day on Saturday, September 9th, is when he discovered Snippy. And
So
it had
what
been
year,
raining.
What year are we
That was
talking?
1967.
Oh, okay.
As you know, 67 was a really big year for sightings all around the world. It was almost like a flap, pretty much, like 73, so to speak. But
Right.
what's interesting, too, is that when he found Snippy, he made a comment. Plus, he got stuck in the mud. That's how wet it was out there. It was raining on and off for weeks. But the night before, it hadn't rained. So if you can just imagine muddy soup to the point where a light bird could land, you could see its talons if it took off again. That's how undisturbed this area was, which is why a lot of the hoax theories that came up from erecting a tripod and dunking the horse in a vat of acid, there's no evidence of any of this. There's no evidence of tire tracks, footprints, nothing of the like. Just the dead horse and weird puddles of green ooze around the horse. It looked like antifreeze. And then later we'll learn from Joe Spencer that he was one of the first 10 or 12 people to see the horse. He mentions a gelatic
butter.
jello stick of butter that was kind of jiggly and the same bright like antifreeze kind of green. And then they follow that trail when Mr. Wellington, who was a rancher next door, and his daughter Leona Wellington and his local school teacher, they all came out to see this evidence about a week later. And what they did is they followed that trail of puddled green ooze all the way about 500 yards away from the horse to a bush that was flattened, and it had this chicken gizzard thing in it. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So the Ernest Wellington is interesting because they were neighbors, like Tony said. They had so many strange animal deaths prior to Snippy that they called it the Dead Cow Ranch. So this wasn't just horse that were being mutilated. These were calves, cows, you know, and other horses as well. But so Ernest Wellington and Nellie are, you know, investigating the crime scene, and they go to this bush that Tony speaks of, and they see this weird lizard or gizzard shaped, what she called a tool. And oh yeah, so you can see on this map here, this map, you guys, in the archives is big. It's like this big. Like I'm like, Dave, do you have something that big to scan? But this was an original map.
A special scanner.
Yeah, they had to use a special scanner, but this is an original map. And up in the upper right-hand corner where it's circled, so if you go down, is the smash brush. So you could see here, tuft of hair, mane, glob with green ooze found here, 20 foot around brush. Area was smooth, smashed down. But they find this tool in that brush up there. And Nellie picks it up with 2 sticks and starts poking at it. And this green ooze comes out of it. What's really sad.
What was wrapped around it? The horse mane, remember?
Yeah, the horse mane. Oh, and her hands burned.
Burned for about an hour.
This is all very suspicious to me.
And anyway,
I have a couple of questions. Okay, I'm dying to know this. What authorities investigated this? Who came out there?
Well, primarily it was APRO because the local police officer, Ben Phillips, refused to come out there to look at this dead animal. He was convinced that this was done by lightning. And over time, she begged him for weeks to come out there, to the point where she did radio interviews and she nicknamed him Lightning Ben. Because everyone would ask that. Said, well, not only did you call the police? She goes, I did, repeatedly, dozens of times. And then his secretary would make things up like, he's not here, he's out of town, he's at a convention. He'll get back to you as soon as possible. And then she'd see him going down the street. So she knew that she was.
So I have a question.
Calling it lightning without doing any investigation doesn't.
That's right.
Yeah, I know a little bit about how law works nationwide, and mutilations is a federal offense. Okay. And it wouldn't be just the police that got involved. It would have been federal agents who would have been called. And all they had, and the police are honor bound, any incident they take, to call the federal government and tell them we have a biggie. And they
That
should
didn't
have been out
happen.
there. And they didn't.
In fact, you probably heard of the Condon Committee and how they had eventually gotten involved and sent some investigators, Dr. Ayers, down to investigate.
Yeah.
And this was all in the case file. We got to see pictures of Dr. Ayers, showing off his Jeep and whatever he was wearing,
No,
which was
that's
kind of
right.
neat. But so the Condon Committee was complaining that people take too long to make a UFO report. Investigators take too long to show up. Well, APRO showed up within a week and started, collecting evidence, whereas the Condon Committee didn't show up for 3 months.
What about
So
NICAP?
NICAP showed up as well, and they actually worked together. APRO and NICAP, for the first time and the only time, they formulated something called the SORT team, SORT, or the Space
Wow.
Object
Yeah.
Recovery Team or Research Team. And Leo Sprinkle shows up, and he put together a team they had the experience missing time. They saw UFOs. They saw balls of light dancing out in the dry lakes of the sand dunes. There's so many we found. It's not just a mutilation case. We learned of cases before, during, and after this case that would just blow your mind. And I'll even tell you about some of them if you're interested, from Mrs.
Yeah.
Blundell
Let me finish the
to
tool story.
Mrs.
though.
Haynes.
Yeah, we
and
want
the
to hear it
missing
all.
time. But yeah, go back to the tool.
Let me finish the tool
We got
story.
time.
Well, yeah, once we finished publishing the book on Amazon with the original cover, we get a review and a call from Leona Wellington.
Australia, I believe.
Yeah, she's in Australia. Ernest Wellington's daughter, saying, "Thank goodness you guys found, you guys got all these original documents. Yes, absolutely, I was there. I was
You
the
guys have
neighbor."
seen the black and white picture of the girl pointing at the horse?
Yeah,
That's her.
that famous picture. It's her. That's
Oh.
in that picture. She goes, "Yes, that was Snippy,
Okay.
3-year-old male gelding." Her father died a week after touching that green ooze, that tool.
And other investigators died 1 year after, and then a couple years after that, and then 5
Right.
years
So I
after
want to
that.
know
People
where
just
all the
drop 'em.
autopsies are and the medical reports on that.
Right.
What
And
was
I
you?
asked Leona, I'm like, "Do you think that your dad's death was connected to finding that mysterious tool in the Chico brush?" And she goes, "I personally do, yes."
That's not a medical report. That is
Yeah.
not evidence. See, this is what taxes me about this whole thing.
Is this
I'm a
the picture
person
you're
who
talking
wants
about?
evidence.
That's
want
Alice
medical
Richmond.
report. I want spectral analysis.
one?
I don't
on
have that
the
picture
elements
up here.
that they're dealing with. If it's a green ooze, want to know what the green ooze is. If it's a yellow buttery thing, I want to know
Well,
what
did they
that is.
test the green
I
ooze?
Well, yeah,
want
they
to
took all these samples to the Condon Committee and other labs. And the Condon Committee, and I put it in the book, that their results said, well, this tool is just dried up seaweed, organic, nothing to see here. This green ooze just evaporated, nothing to see here. The mane, nothing unusual, nothing to see here. But as you know, the Condon Committee got about $600,000 to basically debunk anything that crossed their desk.
And what's
Yeah.
interesting,
And they weren't going to touch mutilation.
so in the reports, we do have the test results from the tool, and they do say it's an organic, weird green seaweed kind of substance, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be there. We don't have that out there in
Well,
the
Katie had a good
Louise
theory. She
Valley.
thinks that organic tool
So-
and the green ooze was what they used to create that laser incision around the horse, which we haven't even talked about yet, which is one of the most remarkable things about this case. Snippy was missing flesh all the way from his shoulders, all the way to the tip of his nose. And it gets weirder and weirder because the cauterization of the flesh of that animal was like a hard, thick leather. And Dr. Alschuler, who was one of the first people within a week to cut that skull open, who found it completely bone dry, including the vertebra. Inside the vertebrae was just bone dry, and the bones were bleached like bleach white when they were first encountered. And within days, they turned a bright pink. And within days after that, a tar black, but not a drop of blood anywhere. And what you see in the photographs, it looks like dried blood, is not. It's this weird black tar-like substance that was
that they
tested, and
tested it.
yeah, they just said nothing to see here. But that was mostly the Condon Committee, and the other labs maybe just didn't have the right equipment to properly, test some of this
And
stuff.
at some point, the
Is
federal
this
government
the
didn't get
bush?
involved at all.
Say again.
And at some point, the federal government, after the first 6 months of this investigation, nobody showed up from the government.
Well,
at all.
they kind of did, because Nellie was told that by the government that those burn marks don't exist, because over time they started to fade away. And she took pictures of it and they drew it on the map and stuff like this. It's hard to see in the photographs. They put little sticks of arrows
Yeah,
to where the
so
burn
funny.
marks are. But because of that, Annalise says, I'm never burying this horse. If I bury this horse, they'll say it never existed. So she gave it to Dr. Leary, who was a local veterinarian, who thought that he could freeze the leftover meat off the bone because nothing would touch this horse. Anything that tried to eat it died of dysentery, like the coyotes. She had to boil those bones for like many days in order to get the bones clean.
Preston, if you put up that big map again, you could see where they actually put coyote droppings, and they could tell where the coyotes were from the mud on the ground. You can even see little bird tracks. Coyotes did not approach the carcass for quite some time. And when they finally got around to try and, so right over here, right to the left of where Snippy is, it says coyote droppings. What did they write there? I need my glasses on.
Coyote droppings,
coyote tracks all over area to rear of horse, but they
So
would
they were
never
coming close, but they wouldn't touch it.
They wouldn't touch the
Not at
carcass.
first.
Animals don't like are smart. Their noses tell them this is not natural. Don't go near it. I also want to know: did they take up the ground where the horse lay and the ground going up the hill? Did they?
Well, there was radiation. Dwayne Martin took radiation readings twice. Once about a week after the horse was found, and about around the 27th before another team came out.
Did they give a report on the type of radiation?
The radiation was really high all around the horse for blocks. He said
but there are many types of radiation. Did they give you the type of radiation that it was? See, the funny thing about UFOs is they have a very specific type of radiation. They admit it's proven, it's known, they know. Humans make all different kinds of radiation. There are 3 or 4 different kinds that can be left as telltale signs of activity of different.
I think the unit was a CDV 750, and it took 2 kinds of readings. But the strange thing is, the closer we got to the horse, the lower the readings. It was almost nothing at the horse, but everywhere around the horse there was. In fact, there was a 75-foot circular depression that was crushing the Chico bushes and pressing into the sand and the soil there. And there were 5 15-foot circles. And to me, that would infer some sort of a landed disc. The burn marks represent perhaps something of a glowing orb that would hover over that part of the ground and burn it up. And
I would challenge any of you to find out what type of radiation it was. That is very telling. If you don't know what type, it can be 90 rad.
I guess. Yeah.
But if you don't know the composition of the radiation itself, and you can know that, you don't know what you're looking at. You don't know if it is a UFO or if it's man-made. Man-made is very specific, and they can tell the difference. I find it very interesting also that the government wouldn't have anything to do with it to begin with. 99.99999% of APRO, all of them, Blue Book, all of them deny anything. Will wait weeks before they investigate, go back and then debunk it. That's their
like Socorro, the half-life was just a few hours on that radiation. That could be man-made because ET doesn't leave that kind of radiation. And then when they photographed where the feet were of the craft that landed in Socorro, they saw light that was just bending right in the photo, and we finally got those photographs back. And we put those.
Well, radiation can make optical effects to film. It's not that the light was bending; it's that the film turned it that way. High amounts of energy or heat can make film process wrong
this unique radiation also burned the roots around Snippy. So any vegetation, the top was not affected, but the roots were burned, just like the 1952 Des Vergers case.
It doesn't matter. We can do that too. We have the ability to do that as well. Being military and understanding how radiation works, being a bomb expert, I'm telling you that is not a big deal. If you can burn 10 feet down into the ground.
I'm just telling you what was there. This was all.
I know. It bothers me that this isn't.
I'm not trying to say it's a UFO or not. I'm just saying there's circles pressed to the ground. This is the evidence. You decide what it is. Circles with radiation.
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? Was it human? Was it us? Or was it ET? Because I know from Dolly's perspective, ETs tell her they do not do mutilation.
Absolutely not. What's
strange about this mutilation is that in addition to what you've probably already heard and know about cows' tongues, eyes missing, cord out rears, this horse had a broken right leg, and its left hind leg was just as bare as the neck bones. The cauterization is something they can't even produce today. That extreme amount of heat, Dr. Altschuler said in the 80s when he was interviewed by Linda Howe, that at that point in time, it's very pliable and malleable.
Disinformation. They had medical lasers that could do that back then. Absolutely.
Not in the middle of nowhere, out in the San Luis Valley.
tomorrow I'll prove it.
Dr.
I'm-
Altshuler said that there was nothing out there at the
Not in
time
the public
that could produce
arena.
that kind of heat.
Yeah, not in the public arena, but I guarantee you that there were medical lasers that could do exactly that already.
And you're going to bring
They
that
were
entire contraption out there, hover it over the ground, not
It's
make
not
a
an
mark.
entire contraption. They had handheld.
Okay,
There was
hold
no
on a
marks on the
second.
ground around the horse. Everything was just wet
That's another
mud.
thing I wanted to.
So
One
if you
of
could
these
if you could
images.
bring up Preston that map one time, I just want to point out a couple of
Yeah.
things. And I actually think I sent you the close up of the map.
Yeah.
But if you zoom in on Snippy,
All right.
I just wanted to point out that it's kind of interesting that they made sure they put his Appaloosa spots on his rear,
Yeah.
and drew an arrow to it and pointed it out. And you can clearly see where they made it so his back right leg appears broken, as
Yeah.
if dropped from above. So you can see here it says horse tracks in a circle as if milling. And then there was no tracks leading up to where he lay. And there were some discrepancies in the report between 20 feet to up to 200 feet, 250 feet. So that was the biggest discrepancy in the reporting. But clearly I thought that was really interesting that they would put the Appaloosa spots and the broken back leg as if
here's
it
another
dropped
image.
from above.
I'd love for you
And it would
to
make sense he would drop rear first because the top of his head was all missing. So he would be bottom heavy.
Also, all of his internal organs were missing too.
Yeah. Now, this
Like-
was another map that was in the original files, and it clearly shows the 3 horses being corralled by something. We don't know what. We can speculate, a light, an orb, whatever. Helicopter, I don't know.
Left to right.
Yeah,
That's how you want
yeah,
it.
you wanted it left to right.
Turn it one more time.
Turn it one more time.
Oh, all right.
That's what we said.
Like that.
Yeah.
Hit it right there.
Right there. That's how it goes.
It was left to right.
Yeah, so there were 3 horses because Smokey had died the week before. Then we had Sheba, Lady, and Snippy, and they could clearly see the 3 sets of horse tracks up until a certain point right there by the arrow. And it says tracks
Oh, I see.
of other 2 horses proceeded to the King Ranch. Snippy mills in a circle and then is dropped and found there where you have the circle.
Also, what's significant about that point, there's so many Chico bushes, and Chico bushes will pop your tires of your car. These
Sure.
horses ran through that with all the pain it would take to run through these
Oh.
rough bushes and not going all the way to the
You
paved
know, when
trail.
it comes to terrifying you, I can understand it. This is a very emotional case.
If horses
agree
could
with
talk.
that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
one of the things that's disparaging to me about this is that these horses were tortured and terrorized. Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't in my experience, and it's extensive, ET has never done a single thing like this. These are beings that are billion years in advance of us. They don't need to do this. But military people need to check animals that have been exposed to radiation, especially from prior bomb explosions going on under the ground or above the ground or in the area, or water being contaminated. I mean, this is a great area where a lot of damaging effects of radiation tryouts by the
That's
government.
one of the theories as to why this is going on, right?
And, they're watching things. How long did they live on that ranch before that happened?
They've been there since the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They've also spotted like balls of light going in and out of Mount Blanca.
Yeah, a lot like Mount Shasta, a lot of balls going in and out of Mount Blanca
Yeah, the
with
whole
King Ranch
San
is
Luis
right at the
Valley.
base.
Yeah,
So my question then, Dolly, is because, I didn't want to get into mutilations. I avoided it for many years, but this is going on for 50 plus years, and it's a big part of the Rocky Mountain Ranch as well.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think a certain percentage is done by covert military operations, but it certainly doesn't explain all of them. There are some very highly mysterious cases and witnesses that I've interviewed that have caught a mutilation in progress miles off county roads with no helicopters, no tracks, no nothing, very mysterious. So, and I've also heard the theory, even from Linda Moulton Howe and others, that certain ETs do need nutrients that they absorb through their skin, and there's high amounts of copper in the blood. So why are they draining the blood? And maybe 90% of ETs wouldn't do that, but maybe there's one that does, that needs the nutrients or the soft tissues or something like
we
that.
now know for a fact, they are proving, and we have plenty of people on this side of it who are working toward that, and Michael Schratt's one of them, that the government had UFO back engineered all the way back to 1960 and 55. And that they're pretty shiny little things, okay? That they were already doing psyops, they were already causing problems, they already crashing and doing weird things, and it's incredible. because my father was in the military industrial complex, I can tell you that he's correct. Okay. Yeah. They have been doing this for a long time, and they are very good at messing with the brains of people, because they want you to think that ET's evil. They want you to think they're trying to kill everything.
Well, that's my concern, because if we do have saucer-shaped craft and you know, basically mimicking a UFO, and ET technology ourselves, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, I know stuff on the Rocky Mountain. Yeah, I know things on the Rocky Mountain Ranch. Yeah,
we had him on the show, and he was also struggling with these issues. He's like, I don't know. He was kind of like on the fence. He's like, I don't know that this is ET.
Yeah, except for ETs abduct people. That isn't kind. That's not nice.
Contacting, and it's because they've been trying to hold up humanity for a while because of what we have going on in our solar system, because our magnetosphere is down and we're taking heavy loads of gamma radiation and our DNA is being disrupted by it, that they've been here trying to hold us up genetically and keep us going so that we can deal with what's coming at us. That's why they're here. The government didn't want anything to do with them, or they didn't want to do it their way. When Eisenhower was contacted, there were 6 other world leaders who were contacted as well. And every one of them told him point blank, no, we're not going to give up our nukes. It's already a done deal. Too late. And then Eisenhower, on his exit from office, warned everybody, told them point blank, the military-industrial complex is a problem. Y'all need to watch out. And what happened? Nobody did a thing about it. We've had president assassinated for it. We've had covert operations all over this planet. We're in anarchy right now. You tell me what the heck's going on. Okay. Yeah. This is, we're all being terrorized by this stuff. Everybody, y'all don't have a clear picture. Disclosure is not going to happen. You people, I want y'all to realize this. They're going to play with you until it's too late. Things are happening, and we have to pay attention to what's really going on. MUFON, MUFON in 2022, the level of people reporting concurrent sightings, like from 22 forward, dropped dramatically and went through the floor. That's because ET bugged out. They are not even here. And yet people are still seeing things in the sky and they don't know what it is. That's because it's back engineered military ops.
There's no doubt, that there's
there's no doubt of that at Rocky Mountain Ranch too, that we had, John Duke, who claimed to be Air Defense Command from San Francisco, at the ranch, messing around with what they call FM, which is freaking magic, which is basically they were messing with MK Ultra, LSD experiments. And they even says in the documents, legal LSD. So I think some of the UFOs and craft that they were sighting at the Rocky Mountain Ranch were military black ops. I agree, Dolly and Preston. There's no doubt
I'm concerned
that
about
we had, or our military has had this.
Because recently,
I don't agree with the fact that it's all of that. I think that there's a certain percentage that is still left mysterious based on just research and witnessing. But maybe we're all being duped. I don't know.
Dolly comes from a perspective having had a lot of
it lays out, and we can let.
I have absolute contact with ET. I've been raised by them. I've flown with them.
That's why she's so certain about this.
Yeah, and I'm adamant about it. I've been on a campaign to find evidence, and we know that there is evidence, and it's coming out now, that this stuff is back engineered, period, the end, that the government is working in ways. That's why you'll never know from the government what's really going on. They're going to lie to you until they fly a false flag. And what's going to happen is, and it's coming sooner than you think, they're going to fly UFOs in and tell you they're the bad guys, run. I'm serious.
Yeah. Oh, I believe that.
I like the work of Michael Schratt.
I mean, I'm not one that thinks we're going to get disclosure from the military or the government or anything. I'm in that same boat. I don't trust, and I have reasons not to trust, because of all the covert shit all the covert stuff on the ranch. I promised you, Preston, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, sorry.
But as far as Snippy goes, Preston and Dolly, Tony and I are just presenting what the APRO files and sharing the photos and sharing that.
I really wish you guys could get a hold of the reports and publicize them. In other words,
they're in the book. They're all in the book.
And by what orders they were given, I want to see that, because
it's all in the book. So,
and it has to be verifiable. Those samples are still out there. Yes. They don't
Some
throw
of them
stuff away.
are, and some of them are missing conveniently.
Well, see, that's covert as well, because they don't
Yeah.
keep samples that are that important. They keep them. They keep them so that you can go back and look at them again. They're put into evidence. You know,
Yeah.
that's why the government doesn't want to touch it, because they have to prove the evidence at that point. This is the biggest heads up. Red alert! Red alert! If the government doesn't get in it, if the government's not doing it, and if you can't pull a FOIA on them and find out what was really going on and what all the elements are, it's PSYOP, period. The government doesn't do that. APRO is full of that. I mean, full of it. Okay. So
That is
we know
true.
the Blue Book was one great big old, debunk, don't tell the truth. Don't do this. Most of this time they go into Congress and they're talking, they're not sworn in. It's off the record, and y'all don't realize it. You hear them talking, but you don't realize it's not written into the record.
Right.
Somebody complained about it finally, and they wrote in one paper that was pretty much a national security incident paper. That was the only thing they wrote into congressional reporting. All the whistleblowers, everything, and it's like
it's a little bit of a dog and pony show. So
Yeah.
I want to know what this
Yeah.
photo
So this
shows.
was Tony. Do you want to talk about this, or you want me to?
Yeah, they were side by side, these two prints that seemed to go kind of deep. They didn't want it released to anybody. That was one of the notes they had on
Yeah,
there.
and on the audio too, they're like, we don't want this out in the public. So that was kind of funny to find. But
Did they
they're the
pull
only
them
two
over?
side by side, and we think it's got to be
Only
some
two.
kind of bird.
yeah, there's only two prints. They don't go off. They don't arrive. They just two prints. They're pretty close together because in one photo you see his feet. They're not Sasquatch. I compared bear. They don't. And if they were bear, you would have more. The bear was coming and going. So it's just weird. I don't know what we don't know what to make of it. But
Where was this
There's only
found?
two.
There's
It
only
had to come
two.
from above and leave.
Was
There's only
this
only
near
two.
the whole Snippy site?
Yeah, right by
About
Snippy.
maybe 500 feet from the horse.
Yeah, 500 feet, they said from. So that was just something in the file that we're like, well, this is weird. And then to have the audio that says, we don't want the public to know about these. I'm like, what the heck is this? And there are cryptid sightings out in the San Luis Valley of Sasquatch and these platypus creatures, very similar to Rocky Mountain Ranch. So again, it's one of those big question marks. And, I don't know what
Did they
that
pour a mold
is.
of it?
What's that?
Did they pour a mold of the
None of that, but they poured molds of the circle
holes.
indentations, and they
Around the
actually compared it to the Lonnie Zamora case, and there's a picture of Lonnie Zamora there holding the casting
I don't
of
think
that,
they match
but
up.
they don't match really. They're quite different, right?
Socorro is more like a shoebox, and these were like
Yeah.
round holes.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a couple of more pictures here I'm curious about. One
Okay.
is just, is this the bush?
That's
Yeah,
it. Do you want
there
to
are
talk about
these
that?
holes, these mysterious holes around this bush, and they also went off in a straight pattern for about maybe 15 feet. None of it made any sense.
It is when you're taking samples of the ground for a reason.
Yeah.
The little round holes here, like
The dirt, those are dirt samples, probably.
But there were no footprints anywhere.
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
holes
well-
just showed up with the horse, and there's no footprints of anybody walking around.
very
No,
strange.
no tire tracks, no human prints, nothing.
There was another case though, and for the life of me, I can't. I did. It
Florida,
was just
Wichiwachi Springs.
is that the one that had
Yeah.
the
Wichiwachi?
circular, like
Yeah.
something that comes down? It's almost a perfect match. to the
Wichiwachi had
circles.
those cylindrical
Those cylinder pipes that went down. So maybe there was something that brought some pipes down to grab some soil samples. I don't know. And that could explain actually the exhaust. I
Yeah,
don't know.
UFOs don't exhaust either.
The
Yeah.
green
There's also three
slime,
fence
but-
posts that were sheared
Yeah,
off.
3 fence posts were sheared off too.
Yeah,
So
like a lightsaber.
if it was her, if it was us, then I mean, Dolly, I'm open to any theory. I'm not pigeonholed into thinking it's aliens. I'm more of a skeptic
I would
than
be
a lot of
literally-
people believe. But if we had lasers and stuff
Military
doing
has
this, to our-
lasers. They have lightsabers.
I think they were working on some like plasma ball technology and laser weapons in the
I wanna
60s and
tell
the
you
70s
something.
for
I went
sure.
to special school. Okay, I'm older than y'all, all right? And I went to special school.
I'm finally
I was
young.
gifted, okay, and in my classroom in the 2nd grade, in walked the military, and they have lasers with them. And they were showing us lasers. They wanted to see how we were reacting to them and how many of us could figure out how the bloody things worked. 5 of us figured it out in 5 minutes. Okay. These were actual functioning lasers. One was demonstrated for us before my very eyes. It was pencil accurate. Pencil accurate. It would zip through wood, metal, flesh, you name it. It could
Wow.
be fine-tuned to a premier point for cauterizing and cutting people open and removing organs and all this other kind of stuff.
Ooh,
This
that's
was
like
in
a graphic.
1967.
Wow.
Okay.
So it could have been at the beginning of it. I mean, we're
Yeah.
open to everything. I think
Yeah.
it's important, just, this book here and what,
Yeah.
7 months we spent on this. I mean, every article, every
I would
book,
challenge
everything,
anybody-
and just trying to sort it out and get
Yeah.
the public all the
you get it.
documents that were lost for over 30 years and the photos and that, because I think people need to see all the evidence all in one
Right.
place,
So glad.
and they can
So
decide
glad
for
you did that.
Three
themselves.
experts to look at that evidence. You need a
Yeah.
particle physicist, you need a nuclear physicist, and you need a medical physicist, because
sure.
all of those tests will tell all three of those people what was really going on and whether it was from here or somewhere else.
And
Okay,
what's
they're
really
the ones
sad,
that
yeah,
comment.
what's really sad, Dolly, if it was, let's say it was Black Access Projects. I
Mhm.
mean, they had people going blind, They had
Mhm.
animals going blind. They had calves with hooves that were growing like skis that they had to put down. So if that was, it is Katie Paige with an I. um, if that was military,
Mhm.
and my mind is open to any explanation, then it's really tragic because it could be responsible for the death of Ernest Wellington.
Mhm.
It could be, they could be, and this is why we won't get disclosure, because
Exactly. Thank you very much
hundreds,
for pointing that out. Yeah.
hundreds, if
They
not
have a
thousands of
lot
people
to
were
answer
put into
for.
these covert programs and affected by it. So yeah, it goes deep. It
A
really
lot to
does.
answer for. And if everybody knew how bad these actors are, we'd turn on them in 5 seconds. They have, I'm not kidding. I mean, it's
No, I
serious.
know.
Wow.
It is
And
serious.
they run in the store.
Yeah.
And we just,
Thank you, Olivia. Just wanted to give a
Thank you,
shout
Stephen.
out. We appreciate that. Okay, there's another photograph in here that I'm curious about.
Oh, tell about this one, Tony.
So this was taken by Bill McFedries and Ed Boggs about 1 week before the Snippy event went down, because they were into ufology, and this is how Don Richmond found these guys, because they got that wasn't put in the newspaper, and the photograph that we got this from on the archives came out really good. You can
Mhm.
really see that thing in
Yeah.
the distance there below the ridge line on the other side of the valley. Those are the San Juan Mountains off into the distance, and Mount Blanca and the Sun, Grande Cristos, are behind us in this photo.
So
And
this
there's a
is
really cool car fastback.
Yeah, 65 Mustang Fastback.
Wow.
Is this presumably a UFO that we're looking at?
Yeah,
Or
that's what
orb?
they put in the paper, and that's the kind of thing they would see a lot. In fact, even Bob King, which we got to meet before he passed, he was out here for the first time when he saw something similar to that. That was surprising, and you'd see stuff like this moving about in the dry lakes, and a light like that would go from there, travel very quickly to the sand dunes, make like a triangle back to where they're photographing, and back to the point of origin.
That's a military grade back engineered anti-grav drone. ET doesn't do that. That does. And you're seeing them. They actually exist.
Did we have drones, Dolly, in 1967?
Yes, ma'am. We did.
Wow. Wow.
We did.
Wait, I'm
And-
curious what you guys think about like the speculation or theories that we have a base under Dulce, and do you think we could have a base under Mount Blanca, for example? It's a very sacred site. Native Americans won't even battle there. It's right at the base of this mountain, and we know that the Crestone in the San Luis Valley is crawling with feds and Oppenheimer and Tesla's out here, and
government bases. Yeah,
so
they're all over
do
the
you
place.
think that could be a possibility, or do we not have underground bases?
You have underground bases in Colorado, period, the end. Yeah.
Huh?
This is one of the things that I can speak freely about. My father was an architect. He was an engineer as well, aeronautical, and he did one of the bases in Colorado, and that I know of. Okay, there are probably more. He also did one under Dulles Airport. There's several in Virginia that I know of. They're all over the place. They've got underground facilities that'll blow your mind, and a lot of them have connections. Like within a 50-mile radius, some of them are connected together underground. They are not that deep. Some of them are like I would say 500 to 1,000 feet deep. They really can't go further than that because the pressure is too high. You dig into the earth, you're going to be pressurized, heavily pressurized, and they don't have the technology to push against that. And it's unhealthy for humans to be that deep in the ground. But they have them. I know that there's a hangar in, Nevada that is so big underground that they've got 2 bombers under there. Honest to God, B-52 bombers. They're
pretty much every military base goes underground too.
That's so interesting. We were just watching a Joe Rogan episode last night. I think it's like 3 days old, and they were interviewing. I'm sorry, I apologize. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was talking about the pyramids and being able to scan out of satellites, and they could see these bases that are, not so deep in the mountains. And there was one in Russia that was mind blowing. And I'm thinking nobody can hide anything anymore if we're going to be able to scan.
They have satellites that can actually see submarines in the water. Okay.
Wow.
If we've got an aircraft carrier and they're equipped now, the newer ones they're connected to the satellites, and the satellite can tell them exactly where a sub is at all times.
Yeah, we have technology that can look through solid objects.
Yes.
Walls and I learned
they didn't learn that on their own overnight. That's all back engineered stuff. They've been back engineering since the 30s, literally. They didn't have the technology to fully understand what they were doing yet. They were crawling at it. But by the late 50s, early 60s, they had a real handle on it by then, and they were already creating craft.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
All right. So who are these dudes?
Okay, you tell.
That's Lonnie Zamora on the left from Socorro, and that's Don Richmond on the right, the lead opera investigator, and he's sharing the plaster cast.
Yeah, they're holding the plaster cast there.
Of the foot of the bird, whatever?
Of the circular marks that were around the bushes. They did not take a plaster cast of the footprint.
Oh.
I think they wanted to ignore the footprint.
Yeah, they did not want any attention on the footprint.
Yeah.
That's not true science, unfortunately, when you're ignoring evidence.
And that's the problem with a lot of these older cases, too. We can't really vet, the investigators or how it was done.
We feel we found a lot of mistakes between even Project Blue Book. They misspelled things, wrote things.
I know. Well, it's not.
I
know. It's like it's been very hard. It's hard now. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I know MUFON has a team that rolls out real fast, and they have people who are trained and everything. But unless you're a flat out scientist and you have scientific equipment and you know what you're doing with it, it's really hard to get a handle on what you're looking
crazy.
at.
For Socorro, even Hynek showed up to Socorro without anything to collect any evidence with.
I know, that blows my mind.
Ray Stanford had to bring it out of his trunk. He's like, well, I brought my stuff.
I brought my stuff. No, that's true, Dolly and Preston. Working with, I led the team, the Mars team, which was really going through and redacting the 10,000 plus cases that were pre-CMS case management system, taking out all the information. And that's what was frustrating with all those older cases. Yes, they seemed really well investigated because you're calling the towers, you're calling the police departments, but you can't go back in time and know how the cases were handled. So it is a problem.
Yeah. Once you run over evidence, it's destroyed. It's pristine. You have to cordon it off. I would have been taking samples of everything. I would have taken an aerial picture of it first if I could. Take a truck with a big arm on it and look
it's really
down.
crazy. They didn't even take a picture of that gizzard.
I know. That's
the
what
green
we were saying.
We're like, why didn't you take a picture?
I know, they should
million pictures they should have
find out
taken.
what the heck it is. That's right.
So they asked Nellie on a radio interview, why didn't you take any more pictures? She goes, yeah, our bad.
Yeah.
That's the only answer.
And we're frustrated. We're like, what?
Yeah, we should have thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of can't blame people because I saw a UFO right up close. I had a camera around my neck. I didn't take a picture of it. It's really shocking when it happens to you. You're like,
but they had weeks, they had months. They had tons of people coming out there.
Yeah.
It's like this is supposed to be something amazing. Photographs everything.
What else amazes me about this? And excuse me, but I'm a weird person and I expect things to happen. It should have been all over the news. The Fed should have been involved. It should have
been. This was all over the news. It went around the world.
Yeah.
We have like a small section of
with movie cameras filming it as well. See, this is where it lacks luster for me. Okay, you can talk about it, you can report it, but it becomes misinformation immediately because if too many people are repeating things over and over and over again worldwide, and they don't have exact facts.
If you look at the newspaper articles, they're almost all verbatim. They all just parroted each other.
Parroted each other.
Yeah.
which is a problem. That is a problem. And we do it now, especially with the internet. It's just one person gives a story. And unless you go down and you pull the documents and you do the work and you listen to the audio and you compare, it took 7 months of just trying to sort
Well,
it
also
out.
the other problem was the money
Okay.
required to do the
And the
scientific work. They didn't have the money for it, and a lot of these people that they gave to the lab say, well, we can do a lot more testing. It'll cost you this much. He's like, we don't have it. And then by the time they do have it, the evidence is already tainted and gone.
Such a
or whatever.
shame. Yeah, I do have the newspaper clippings from when I subscribed to the UFO news clipping service. That exploded all over the newspapers, locally at least.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And again, just saying the federal government should have been involved. No kidding.
I agree.
They probably were, Dolly, but it's not documented because it's hush hush. So
I like the cover of this one, by the way. It's
Thank
pretty.
you.
Whoever did that is beautiful. It plucks at my heartstrings. It really does. It's a travesty to me that anything of this sort happened to any animal on our planet by anybody. You know,
this was a book that needed to be written. So kudos to you guys for finally bringing this case to, because it's a landmark case. Let's face it. It kind of changed the way people thought about this subject.
Yeah, right. It was really a labor of love for the King family, and just being able to see those photographs and to see all the documents and hear Agnes King, and she was a disbeliever too in UFOs and stuff, but she clearly saw something that day that she couldn't explain. Maybe it's our own back engineered, maybe it's not. I don't know. But to be able to share all that and to share it with the world, I think it's
even changing a small part of history is incredibly difficult, because every time we run into anybody who says I'm familiar with the horse, it's lady, and we're like, no, it's not.
And they tested the bones, so the bones are at the UFO Watchtower, and the birthing canal of the
it's a V, like a boy.
Yeah, it's a boy.
Not a teardrop like a female.
You can't birth, so
even Larry Messling, Judy's son, said, "I knew it was a boy."
It was a boy, just based on the skeleton of the bones. So finally to be able to put that to rest is good.
Yeah,
poor Snippy.
Yeah,
no,
poor Snippy. Yeah, poor Snippy. But to hear of all the outlier cases, and there's so many, and Tony can share some of those. And so many similarities, even a weird box sighting. Now, Dolly, going back to the MK Ultra military connection, there's these boxes seen at Rocky Mountain Ranch that made hum sounds. That sounds very military in nature.
Also in the San Luis.
They're also in San Luis Valley. So there's these connections, and I think that's important.
And also, if you're familiar with Trey Hudson's black box or invisible box, IR box in the Meadows, Burrell describes almost identical to what Trey Hudson's been reporting, like a 20-foot tall thing with 9 feet wide, so many feet deep.
Yeah. You realize the technology changed over the years. It's gotten smaller and smaller, so you don't realize it. But every military compound or anywhere that they're looking or they're keeping an eye on, the ground is infiltrated by technology that lets them know you just took a step onto it. Okay?
Oh yeah, Area 51.
Well, all military bases have this same technology as well. They also have ways to make you think that you're seeing UFOs when you do, and to scare the holy out of you and make you run. It is a thing, and it makes me sad to know this, but it's true. There are plenty of reports of that. I mean, thousands of them, as a matter of fact, of people walking into a military area and having the holy blinged out of them, and they knew they were there the whole time, and it was to keep them off the base because they don't want you there. Fort Benning, let's use that one. That's the one I'm familiar with. Okay, 350-mile radius base. It's the third largest base in our entire country. Okay, it covers 2 whole states. There's nowhere there because they have operations there that are so covert. They have rangers coming in and out of there. You can't see or anything when they're coming or going. No satellites allowed to know what's going on either. They push. Here we go. There's a big satellite fight going on in the skies that you all don't know about too. Geosynchronous orbiting of satellites is very fine-tuned. Our bases are protected, and if you try to come near, that's why Space Force is so important now, because they'll knock a satellite out trying to come near us. Any satellite that's governing our bases or anything. That's why China sent balloons over us. Okay, that was totally China, by the way. Period.
The world has gotten so crazy these days.
Yeah.
I always thought that too. I thought that too.
The technology is so complete that you're watched on the streets. They have, facial recognition. They have, they have
AI and all that stuff.
5G, AI, everything. That's why they find people so easy now, because there's no step you take in public that you're not watched, monitored, or followed. Period. They can find you anything. They can go through your records. Nobody has any privacy. They don't even realize it. And bases are included. That's right.
Yeah.
You turn your phone off, it's not off.
So is there anything else you want to add?
I think we didn't show the
case?
picture, the graphic picture of Snippy.
Yeah, I've been avoiding.
Yeah, wait. Tell everybody, brace yourselves, please. If you have small children watching the show, turn them around. Get them out of the room. Okay.
Yeah,
If you're sensitive or have small children,
That's right.
We're going to show the actual Snippy the Horse here. So
this is an important photo, though, to share because it wasn't shared publicly. No, well, that one's a later date.
That's out the long
This
time
is
after,
how many?
Maybe 3 months.
This is like 3 months after, so this isn't the 9-day-old one. So, and this one's important.
That's not what he looked like when they found him.
Yeah, this isn't what he looked like when they found him. But
Right.
there you can see his
one.
broken leg, and you can see that bare back leg, which wasn't talked about very much, very clearly in that photo.
Yeah.
What's important about the other photograph is that it shows how fresh the rest of the body was.
Yeah.
And you can see his Appaloosa spots.
That too. And because a lot of the scientific community wanted to say that the horse died of an infection by 2 bullet wounds to the hip, which didn't show up for a month after when the horse was found. He was perfectly, not shot.
Here
Right.
we go.
2 boys shot it with a .22 caliber.
Yeah, and they said they were gonna
a month later.
They said they'd sign an affidavit stating that they shot the horse after it was dead. So, but yeah, the
forensic, the word forensic, right? That applies to everything. Every animal that dies under suspicious circumstances has a forensic team come out and take pictures. They do blocking. They measure everything. They take samples. They don't even breathe on it the wrong way until they forensically got every ounce of information out of this animal that they can before they move the animal or anything. So it's like.
Well, in a perfect world, but something that's interesting, Dolly, about the animal mutilations and talking to like Paul Sinclair in the UK, this isn't just in the United States that we're having strange animal deaths. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and it's not just horse and cows. It's dog and kangaroo and sea creatures and all sorts.
You understand the military industrial complex is global, right? You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying they've done this to many types of animals.
I just want to issue another warning for this next image. I think this is the one you're talking about. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
3, 2, 1. Graphic.
Yeah, that's Snippy about 9 days. You can see his Appaloosa spots, and there was nothing else wrong with that horse other than the missing flesh from his neck and from his.
All of his internal organs were missing.
Yeah. Just a small amount of white powder was found in the stomach, and that was it.
Talk about the what they found in the brain. The cavity.
We found nothing.
Yeah,
it was completely bone dry from day one. So they said. So some of the doctors were saying, well, that's what happens when a horse dies in that area. So they went and found another horse that was dead out in the sand dunes for over a year. They cut its skull open, and it was still moist.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you could see that bare back leg, and you could see the broken leg.
So somebody once said to us, "Oh, if you drop a horse from above, it's going to fall head first." And we're like, "Yeah, if it has meat on the neck.
Right.
If all the flesh is missing, then its rear end is going to go first." Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why the right leg grows.
Understand that if ET can lift you off the ground and not harm you and put you back and not harm you, why would they drop a horse?
I think it was a mistake.
Yeah,
I think something went wrong.
I don't think ET makes mistakes. That's the thing.
We saw ET pick up an elk and run it into a tree.
Oh yeah, there is that case where
so ETs aren't very good at driving.
Maybe it was a back engineered craft that ran the elk into the tree. I mean, we don't know. I'm more of a skeptic when it comes to this subject than most people realize. So who knows? I'm open
Wasn't
to
that one in Canada or somewhere in the north of the
kind of like
where was that case?
Dave Pilates featured it in his
Dave Pilates
film. And then we saw the other guys that did it too, those 2 investigators that were talking about it.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing on YouTube about it.
You guys running the Scully and Mulder team. One's a little skeptical, it's real.
I just present the information.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, who would you think's more of a believer, me or you? Let's have this on the
There are
show.
days that we just go. There are days that we say.
Okay, I'm going to go one step further. I want to make sure that you understand why I say what I say. ET's got a field around them. It's impenetrable. Okay. When they move you into the craft from the ground, they have to take you up in a way that you can go through anything. You become interdimensional with them. They have to do it this way because they can't just stop their process and let something drop. They would hit the ground as well. This is not how they operate at all. Okay. Now, a back engineered craft doesn't have that. And yes, they can drop you from a window. Okay. So I'm sorry. All right. Go ahead. I'm just like, there's a million reasons why.
I never said it was ET. I'm just saying something from above, something came down, left these circles on the ground, sliced these fence posts off.
Right.
I don't know.
I think Dolly believes in ETs. Obviously,
I know
there's more than one
they
kind of ET. Maybe
Yeah.
there's some ETs that aren't
No,
so
there's
sophisticated.
I know at least 16 different.
maybe they're learning.
Maybe these are young kids that are trying to figure it out.
If they got here, they're way more advanced than you are. Trust me.
Yeah.
And they're not going to make these kinds of mistakes. And they wouldn't do it. They don't. We're not a chemistry set to them. We're humanity, just like they are. And, and the only message they leave people, and everybody says the same thing. Nobody's ever come back and said, they're threatening us. They're going to kill us all. Nobody talks
That's
like
true.
that. You know,
I respect your opinion, Dolly. I respect your.
My concern is that I know that our governments are putting forth a fear campaign. I know they're lying. I know there was a lot of technology behind the scenes we don't know about.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to parse this all out and unpack it and really get a clear picture of what's going on.
It's true.
Especially because the MyLab situation as well, and it's just a mess.
Yeah, we're all guinea pigs to the.
All right, so
all
I'm interested, Tony. You worked for MUFON. You invested a bunch of cases. What were some of the more interesting ones for you?
There weren't any. That's why I left. It's like once I got a hold of the Socorro case, I spent the next 10 years working on it. Everything I got in MUFON were just lights in the sky, and I went out and investigated a woman who claimed that she sees ETs every night. One came down her driveway, and she sees these balls of light. So Ben and I, we drove like 5 hours to go meet with this woman who was a dog trainer of these vicious attack dogs in the Air Force. We thought that's got to be credible. We go up there. Ben goes to pet one of the dogs, almost gets his arm chewed off, and she has chicken wire and barbed wire to keep the dogs in. So that says a lot. I said, run us through the night. What happens when you start saying these? So first I get a glass of brandy. Okay, now we're not starting off on a good foot here. So now you're inebriated and you're looking up at the sky, and we found out there's an Air Force.
She got the brandy.
She got the brandy, not us.
Not you. Weirdos. That's right.
So she starts off by drinking every night with
the
investigation. And she's facing the direction of the airport. This constantly, we're just watching flight tracker. Every time she pointed to a UFO, we said that's an airplane. And then earlier in the day, though, she was holding Ben's hand up, saying, "Right here, do you feel the ball of light in your hand?" And Ben was just kind of going along with it. So she was taking photos with his phone, and we got some solar flares coming through, reflecting off the trees that made these orange balls of light around the car. And we showed them to her. We said, "What do you think of this?" She goes, "That's exactly what I'm talking about." We're like, "Well, that's cool because those are lens flares, so your eyes see them or whatever." Flew the drone up there. She goes, the UFO touched the trees up there. All the vegetation's dead up there. So I flew the drone up there. Vegetation was fine. Takes me around the back where there's a circle that the UFO actually landed. I go, this is just like grubs that are killing the grass here, But there was a funny moment there because I was pretending to be like an EVP, like a ghost, and Ben couldn't hear me. So I pretended I was like a ghost, and I said something that got recorded that he didn't hear me. So later when he played it back, I said, "Get out." Get out. And when he played it back on the recording, he goes, "Did you hear that?" And I let him go with it for a little while.
That would be.
I got a question for somebody.
I've had investigations like that where it was planes coming towards the witness and they turned, you couldn't see them. They were so upset when I told them it wasn't a UFO. They did not take it well.
We had one guy disappeared in the woods for an hour when we told him that. We're like, do we just leave him out here, or do we just leave?
The government will follow you all day long. Is Carrie Bell still in the chat? Say something. I want to see if you're there.
Oh, I haven't seen any.
Carrie, talk. If you're there, talk. Just say I'm here, Dolly. Okay. There's a reason I'm asking this. One of the things that has perturbed me greatly is that if you're in the military, you work for the military, you got people who are in the military, blah, 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 blah. They will follow you around. Okay. And I've had days, and I'm not joking, where I was so obviously followed around, it made me crazy. A few people in my life have heard about it while it was happening to me, witnessed it with me because I have a video phone. And so I'm wondering if Carrie Bell is there. It might be hard because he's in Arizona and he doesn't have a real good signal out there. He's not there. Carrie Bell just happened to be on the phone with me in I want to say 2018, late 2018, early 2019. And when I was at our family zoo back then, and a helicopter started following me everywhere I went. I was on the phone with Carrie. Followed me to the grocery store, followed me to the vet, followed me everywhere I went. It followed me all the way home. It was over my trailer for an hour, and Carrie just happened to hear it with me. And I'm like, Carrie, there's a freaking damn, I'm having a bad day. And this is the kind of thing that always made me take up and notice what's going on around me. I wish people would spend more time teaching themselves how to be good observers, and understand that everything you see and do needs to be backed up with either a witness or some good photographs, or take notes. If you have a notebook in your house with a pencil that you can grab.
That's one of the problems with this field. There's not a whole lot of hard evidence. And I have the same issues, Tony, with MUFON. Occasionally I'd get, this lady saw a human.
There it goes.
She would not talk to me. Anytime you get like a good case, they start backpedaling.
Yeah, see, Carrie said there were live videos. I showed it. I'm not kidding you. This is my life, okay? Stuff like this happens to me all the time. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. The government is more connected than you could possibly imagine. I mean, if they want to follow stupid little me around, imagine what they do to everybody else. I'm not the only one. I'm not. Okay. I know I'm not. I'm not special.
Oh no.
It's everybody. It's crazy.
I've had some crazy things myself, right, Tony? And interesting people and follow. I know they're keeping an eye. There's no question about it. A few different
no question.
So
I've had it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And as far as when I was my MUFON days, probably almost 90 to 95% lights in the sky, identifiable. But I did have a few interesting cases, and I'll go ahead. My favorite case was a daytime case out in Douglas County of a woman on her way to work. So as sun was out, she's on her way to work. She spots something pretty low over the tree. She pulls over the car, and that's a good tip. If you see something, pull the car over. Don't drive and do this. Anyway, so she pulls the car over. She's watching this thing, and she's like, are these birds? She's trying to rationalize, and I love that in a witness when they're trying to.
Oh yeah, they're figuring it out.
Theory escalation, right?
And she's like, no, and she said it's like a special effects. It's like doing this morphine, changing shapes. Two interceptors come in. She says lower, and this was not too far from Buckley Air Force Base, which I believe is still Space Force, but lower than she's ever seen them. And as these interceptors approach this mysterious light thing, it just vanished in front of her eyes, and one jet flew that way, one flew that way, and that was the end of it. But to me, it was a very credible witness, daytime sighting, really interesting interceptors. And my question was, how is it interceptors can be scrambled? Are they watching these things on radar? I mean,
no, it's because it's back engineered and they're keeping an eye on it. That's why.
Okay. Oh, so you think they've created stuff that can like morph?
Let me tell you something. Somebody with a really good 30-06 or a 30-30 can shoot that right out of the sky.
What do you think would happen if they shot at it?
It would go down. If you shot a gun at a back engineered craft that has no safety around it at all, it will go down like a stinker. You shoot a plane down out of the sky, you can shoot one of them.
Because she didn't say it was a structured craft. She said it was more orbish in nature.
Yeah, it was probably a drone, and she could have shot it completely down.
Or it could have been ET. There's no reason why that wouldn't be the case.
There wouldn't have been interceptors on it like that.
Well, there's a lot of cases in the literature where UFOs show up, good solid cases, and then the military shows up and chases them away.
Yeah, but the timing, if they're right there on it that minute, sometimes it takes 45 minutes for an interceptor to get there because they have to fuel up, they have to, pre-flight, they have to get off the tarmac. Some places in the country have flight interceptors that are ready to go on the second. The guy's right outside the door. He's sitting there all suited up, ready. They're on patrol, they're on duty, and they can be up that plane and in that plane and in the air within 15, 20 minutes. And it takes time to get, because they're flying only at Mach 1 probably, to get, so many miles to get to intercept. So you're looking at a moment of 45 minutes to an hour. The interceptors that were trying to come in 9/11 did not show up right away. You know that, right? They were way late for that, and they were right there on a base that was ready to take off, and it still took them 45 minutes to get there. That's the problem with that.
Well,
now, interceptors on top of something right away, it's because ET let it happen, and they knew people were filming it. They do that, or they were trying to make a point with them, but they wouldn't make that with a drone. See what I'm saying? ET wouldn't do it with a drone, not at all. ET's got to be able to outfly that interceptor. See what I'm
I
saying?
didn't realize we had drones that look like orbs and stuff. And
Yes,
my
we
thought
did.
is if they're tracking
Yeah.
ET, then
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an interesting case nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah, my early interest. I had maybe one really interesting case like that with MUFON. I never ended up getting any good humanoid cases, but one guy was near LAX and saw this kind of cylindrical object. He was a good witness, Brian Forrest. I had him fill out the 20-page thing, checking
20
all the
pages.
you know what I mean?
It's gonna get better, people. Right here.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I decided, I'm submitting these cases to MUFON, and I kind of never hear from them again. And I just, I love MUFON. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely support them still. I'm still a member.
Mhm.
But I ultimately felt more freedom going independent.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's a great place to start and learn and network. And, yeah.
I think
it gives you the idea that it's a good idea to investigate everything. I think everybody should do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that you all wrote these books. I'm glad that you have all this information because it gives people a chance to dig through it and do some research from that point on. See what I'm saying? Point of reference. The one thing that I wish everybody would come to the conclusion of is that in science, unless you have absolute proof, do not call it proof. Okay? Call it evidence. If you have proof, if you have absolute
opinion is not proof.
Well, it's not even opinion. They have evidence, some evidence. They have a lot of evidence, actually. It's not conclusive, some of it, or it's hidden, some of it, but they still have evidence. It really happened. But it's not proof of ET mutilation. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, here's a question from Poetic Poems. Do Katie and Tony have different versions of this book? I've seen different covers.
Right. Well, so this is the cover. Hold on, let me get to it here.
Here's the original cover.
We showed everything else.
This is the original cover right here that he talks about. Right here. And these were in the APRO files. These were original drawings drawn in 1967.
That's too racy for Amazon?
And Amazon would not let us do any advertisement because they said it was too macabre.
And most people that looked at the cover immediately dismissed it because they didn't know what it was about.
Right.
Wow.
And then I didn't have that it had anything to do with UFOs or anything. So people were like, what's a Snippy? Because it was, almost 6 years ago. So, so people didn't know. So that's why we had to change the cover so we can run advertisements for the book. Otherwise,
I like the cover of this one because it kind of starts telling a story in the picture. Okay.
Yeah, with the UFO.
Your brain goes to that.
The color is beautiful.
Yeah, Ryan Wood recommended that. He said people like color. He came over to our house and hung out.
So yeah.
Here's
So that's
question.
the reason for the book cover change. So, and there's a couple stories
There's
added
some more additional stuff. We talked to Byron King, not related to the King family, which is interesting because Byron had a brother named Dave.
Yeah,
but Dave is also a Dave in the other King family. Two King families in the same school, and they didn't know each other. But the second King family knew the first one.
Yeah.
But Byron King called us when we were on our way to contact in the desert, and we were in the hotel, and he said, yeah, me and my brother were chasing this UFO thing for like 100 miles an hour. We had missing time. We got all the way across the valley in just 10 minutes. And so it was pretty crazy. And he just called us to tell us verbally.
Yeah, I'd go talk to them. That's an interesting story. Because there's little telltale things that you hear from people. Like if I covered a valley in less than 10 minutes and I have missing time and I was chasing something, that's an interesting more to find out about this person, what the heck's going on.
Dr. Leo Sprinkle reported missing time when they were out there, and then there was a missing time with Burl and Nellie coming back from Westcliff. And so
you should tell Dolly. She might like this story. Okay. So there were some stories, outlier stories that were documented in the APRO files of Miss Blundell and her mysterious painting. So tell her about this, and could be, I don't know what you think. I would love to hear her opinion.
Mrs. Blundell, her husband, and Ben King and his wife, they go for like a picnic out there in sand dunes, when all of a sudden this giant crescent-shaped craft comes over one of the sand dunes and hovers above them for about 300 feet and then takes off like a bolt of light. So she goes home and then she's inspired to make this art, creates this piece of artwork that she has a little shop near Pagosa Springs, 20 miles outside of there. Yeah, and so she goes in there. She wants to show her friends what she drew. She wasn't going to sell it. This strange man comes in, spends way too much time in her shop, and she's getting nervous. She wants him to leave. He says, "I want to buy that picture right there with the little sheep on the mountain, and the one over there." And she's like, "What other one over there?" And she's pointing to the one with the UFO. She goes, "Well, that's not for sale." He goes, "I'll pay you anything you want. I want these 2 paintings." She goes, "You can have the one with the sheep for $750, which was a lot of money back then, and get out." So the guy says to her, the guy says, "I don't have any Earth money. It's my first time to this planet, but I'll be back in October." Freaks her out. So she writes his license plate number down and puts it in her little metal cash box. She doesn't think anything of it because October comes and goes and the guy doesn't show back up. But the next spring, which was in 68, spring of 68, the police call her up. "You need to come down to your shop. There's blood everywhere." She's like, "What do you mean there's blood everywhere? Is there anything stolen?" "Nothing stolen." She goes down there. It takes her like 45 minutes to get there. Blood everywhere, which I don't know why they didn't collect the samples, for later, forensics. But
Right.
the only
Yeah.
thing missing was her metal box, and she put the license plate
Yeah.
paper in.
This is Miss Blundell right here.
And that's her little
And her crescent-shaped UFO. But she said,
Wow.
yeah, somebody claimed to not have any Earth money. Do you think an ET would do that, Dolly?
No,
Like,
I think Black Ops would have done that.
I remember this
like a Men in
story.
Black kind of situation.
So bizarre.
Well, the Men in Black showed up
Well,
also.
no, my
in
craft
Kansas.
is crescent
Men in
shaped.
Black
and look-
stories.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
Ben
craft
King
can
worked
look
that, though.
crescent shaped in the sky. Did you know that?
What's that?
My craft can look crescent shaped in the sky.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So she
so
might
I
have
didn't-
had
Sounds
an
like a
actual
genuine
sighting, but the
UFO.
guy
I
who shows up
think
was
she
a
saw
Men in
genuine
Black.
UFO, and Black Ops was trying to get that painting away from her.
Well, the story about the Men in Black actually comes from Chris O'Brien.
Yeah.
Because he put this in his book, and we took it from there
Yeah.
for our book, where he says that Ben King was approached by like an agent who was talking to him, and his friend who worked with him witnesses him weeping on his knees at the foot of this man in black or this government agent who said, "I wish we knew about what you saw because we have technology that can bring him down." Then Ben King got hysterical, says, "No, if you hurt them, they'll hurt me. I'll get in trouble." And that's the same story he told of his friend who worked there who told Chris O'Brien.
Yeah.
Later on.
And Chris O'Brien was going to work with us on this case, but
Died a
unfortunately
week
we lost him.
earlier.
He died that
Yeah.
week earlier
He was
that we
on
were
our show,
communicating.
actually.
And Linda Howe. So in the beginning of the book, Linda Howe writes a nice letter about the mix up on the
Yeah.
name and really supported the work that we did. So that meant the world to me because, Tony, I was like nervous because the mix up kind of started with Linda.
Like we said,
how
changing
do I-
history can be a dicey thing.
Yeah, how do
Right.
I
Well,
approach
she's a
her?
full-on, real, honest-to-God
Okay.
journalist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so her
She won an Emmy.
optics, her understanding of things is a little bit different from a regular researcher. She's
Yeah.
a journalist, and so that's
She wanted
cool.
the truth out, and she was very appreciative of all the
Yeah.
work. So that really meant
I have
a
a
lot.
story for you guys about
good.
the whole lady Snippy thing.
Yeah.
I don't have the really good details, but I remember the meat of the story. These kids were quite young, went down to that ranch to see the whole scene and got to talk to the King family. I think they did. And years pass. He goes to join the military, and they ask him about the time he went to visit that ranch. No way they could know about that. They had somehow knew
interesting.
about it. So I'll have to look that up. I don't think I put that in my book, but
We had some
It's
people
stuck in
show
my
up when
head.
we were in Alamosa who knew stuff about the horse too. And then there's
Yeah.
Kendall Johnson.
Oh yeah, Kendall Johnson shows up. I love Kendall. Kendall, if you're watching, hi Kendall. So tell me about Kendall Johnson.
So Kendall, we were visiting MUFON because I can't remember who was speaking there. Oh, we were. That's right, we were speaking there. So Kendall shows up, really great cowboy from Oklahoma, and he's got cancer. And he says, "I got a story I got to tell before I die." And we're like, "Absolutely." We're talking about Snippy the Horse for our presentation. We bring him up on stage. He says, "I got this implant in my ankle. I got another one in my hand. Every time I mess with it, I get nauseous. I want to pass out." And then he says that while he was there as a young man, his
How old was he? Do
he
you
was
remember?
a teen. His uncle came back with a story about Snippy the Horse. Incidentally, just after he learned about that, he said his room lit up like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. All of his toys were electrified and moving around. And he thought that the movie
like a
was like a
documentary.
documentary.
Oh my
The
God.
only other person I ever heard say that was Katie.
Me, yeah.
So I said, "Katie, you said the same thing."
Yeah. So we added his story into the new version, but he had his own experience out there. So I believe it's an active area, and I saw somebody mentioned in the comment how far from the Rocky Mountain Ranch, and it's about a 3-hour drive from the San Luis Valley out there to Elbert County. So, as a crow flies, not very far, and to have such similar events that occur and having the military presence, it does make me wonder. And I've asked that question. What could be under Mount Blanco? Is there a CIA? Is there a military connection? And I think, yes, the answer is yes, there probably is. But I also don't think all of it is that. I think people are actually having real ET encounters that are unexplainable.
Well, ET likes to keep an eye
which
on
is
these
exactly
guys.
what I think too, because what happens when people have real encounters, it brings these folks in.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
And it's trying to cause problems. Or a lot of problems are happening, and ET will come in and check out why it's happening as well.
So weren't you going to put together a book on this ranch, Katie?
It should have been done 2 months ago.
It should have been done like 3 years ago.
Yeah, that too.
Yes, and I think I believe
There's a reason.
I believe in synchronicities, and things happen when they're meant to happen. And because of the Beyond Skinwalker series, it opened up a whole other avenue. And then even lately, and Dolly, we'll have to talk off camera, but just recently I discovered the Thomas H. Budinsky connection. So these are my original cassette tapes from when I was a kid. But during my ranch years, I thought I went into this biofeedback program because of the migraine headaches I suffered from an incident on a ranch.
Yeah.
Thomas H. Budinsky, who is the head of the Biofeedback Institute, he was a navigational engineer out of Area 51 and the SR-71 Blackbird. And there's a video you can find online about the biofeedback program in the Denver Tech Center. And Thomas H. Budinsky, they have a little boy named Kevin around the same age I was, 11 years old. And they're like hooking him up like they did with me, with the fingers, the head, the headphones, trying to keep you in a theta state. So I was in this program for a year and a half. And they're going, Kevin, can you make the rocket launch? Can you make the rocket land? They didn't know how to navigate these craft. And I think they were trying to use children or adults, probably both.
They're trying to figure out, well, children have better undeveloped psychic ability. They're not talked out of it yet when they're very young. I was one of those kids as well. Also, you made me think of something. I had a teacher in my high school who was one of those guys. And right after my big day, because I had a migraine headache afterwards, I went to him. God knows why I did, but I did. And he said, let's do some biofeedback. And he hooked me up to the machine. And it started, woo, it went really fast, okay? It went off the dial. And I went, I don't like this. And I took it off and I said, I'm going home. And I walked miles and miles and miles to get away from this guy. And I avoided him like the plague afterwards. It's because it gave me the creeps that he knew. Why do you have a biofeedback in your office like that? It's like, what?
What I learned about the Twilight Learners, so they were connected to the Menninger Foundation, the Monroe Institute, the Gateway Project. And so I was put in this program during the ranch years. So that speaks right there that something else was going on.
You know what? They wanted to know if you could fly a craft. They wanted to see if you could train to become a pilot, because they have ET craft that weren't so badly damaged. Okay, but they came down anyway and they got them, that are still active, and they're trying to find people to fly them. Okay, and what they don't realize is that it took me 4 years to learn how to fly. Okay, and there's all kinds of things that are involved with it. That's why they have implant technology now, and they want to implant your head and all this other kind of stuff. Because they want to get in one and
not my head.
Forget that.
Not his head.
Worst situation. Yeah.
So
anyway, so it goes deep.
I gotta talk afterwards. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about your new book, because that having talked to you about your ranch years in our earlier show, which by the way, you guys out there, check it out.
But that's why the book is waiting, because I have all this new stuff to put in it, but I promise I'll get back on it. And I would love to see the Carl Higdon case have a book, and you're working on another new book.
I just finished Cosmic Secrets, so if you don't believe in disclosure, you might like it.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
and I'm also writing another one called The Valley, Colorado's High Strangeness Triangle, which a lot of it focuses on Chris O'Brien's work.
Oh, good, because he did such excellent work, and he really, that's something. What do you think it is about San Luis Valley that makes it so active?
We've met some of the strangest people you'll ever meet out there. It's amazing. They're good people, though.
They're good people.
They're just, little off, but good.
Often a good
I
way.
don't know.
Often a good way.
Yeah, I know for, at least in the Rocky Mountain Ranch area, we have the Palmer Divide, which is very similar to the Archuleta Mesa. And San Luis Valley is energetically really kind of crazy. It's all over the place. So energetically, it's weird, but we have the crystals of the Great Sand Dunes, which I think
Yeah,
plays
it's
a
got a huge
role. And
mineral
then the
deposit running through there.
swamp area near the King Ranch. So we have, certain geological aspects and water and the high magnetism. I think a lot of these high strangeness areas, I'm
The
sure Dolly,
aquifers.
the aquifers. So it's this magical combination of high magnetism, water, and limestone, granite, crystal, that kind of thing. So I'm sure Dolly and Preston would agree with that. It's
Yes,
sort of,
absolutely. The government
Yeah.
likes it.
Did you ever go to the UFO Watchtower of Judy
Oh, I've been there many
Messeling?
times.
yeah, many
I hang
times.
out there and everywhere out
Really?
there. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that would be so
Larry's
much fun.
running it
to
now.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
Is Judy still around doing it
She's
or no?
still around, but she gets tired a lot and she needs a lot of rest. And I think
Oh,
her husband's been not so well, so she's probably been caring for him, and Larry's been running things.
oh my goodness.
Larry wrote a
Okay.
song about Snippy the Horse, and he actually played it at the Snippy event.
Yeah, it was
I
cool.
thought it was great.
It was great.
It's like acoustic song,
Nice.
kind of like a cowboy song. It was really cool.
Very cool. All right. Well, we're
Amazing.
approaching. We've got maybe 5 minutes. Let me see.
We got any more questions out there?
Here's one. I'm not sure. Let's see. My question is, how do you discern genuine stories from con jobs or mental illness?
That's a great question.
You want to take that one, or?
I kind of have a nose for lie detection in a way, and I can tell right away when someone's telling me a fabricated story that maybe it's not to be taken so, word for word. And I'm always looking for evidence, and that's why we get into the cases we do, because unless we have the documentation, photographs, video, testimony that we can get firsthand in any way, shape, or form, that's what we like.
Yeah, and I think the mental illness piece of that I'm very sensitive to. I had a half brother
That's right.
who was mentally ill and was institutionalized, burnt down a couple of our homes. I think you remember we talked about that, Dolly, and that whole incident in San Francisco. So when it comes to mental illness, he was very intelligent, and in the fire, when he burnt down our home, he left a very cryptid note in the fire that, the firefighters gave to my mother and father, and I still have it to this day. And it makes me wonder, yes, there's such thing as schizophrenia and things, but I often wonder too, are they able to see and hear more than the average person?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I'm very
I
careful
want to tell
about
you a secret about, mushrooms are a big deal to everybody. Okay. They isolated the chemical in mushrooms that do the make your brain wire itself differently. Okay. Because when people do mushrooms, their brain is reorganizing and doing strange things. You have a completely different experience than you do from any other drug there is. And they try to figure out why that is, because you go within, you don't go without, you totally go encapsulated into your own head, and you come out of it thinking differently. So they isolate the chemical compounds that are in the mushroom, and they used it to mess with people's heads and reorganize how they think and make them crazy. See what I'm saying? They use it as a tool.
I hope that's not what happened. That would be.
Yeah, no, and
What
I
happened on the ranch was
and I think I wonder about the military presence on the Rocky Mountain Ranch, and then how my mother got involved, and then my brother at the time, right before that. By the way, the timing is perfect. He's put in Pueblo State, and we know they were experimenting on people in state hospitals. So that's kind of my next rabbit hole. I want to see if I can FOIA. I know it's medical, so I might not be able to get any information, but any clues tying that to some of the, other programs like this Twilight Learners that I was put into and things like that. So it's all interwoven and interconnected, I think.
Very much so. I 100% agree with you. Yeah.
All right. I think we have time for one question, and this is directed to you, Dolly, but I think we all have an opinion on it, at least, regarding the alien false flag. When do you think it's going to happen?
It's already started. You're being groomed for it, right?
Do you think an alien false flag is going to happen?
Yes, 100%.
Sure, there's a lot of buzz about it in the UFO community. I'm concerned about it. I don't know. What are your guys' opinions?
I think it's going to happen too. I mean, what an easier way. They've been grooming everybody for it since 47.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the Steven Spielberg like trailer? To me, it looks like it's kind of fearful, but I don't know until we
Right.
see it. But
It is. It's dark as all get out. Okay. When I saw it, I was like, huh, what happened to you? You know, you put one out that's very helpful and bright and all this other kind of stuff, and now you're doing this. Why? What's going on?
Yeah.
You know?
we'll have to wait and see, huh?
Yeah, I'll probably watch it, but I'm preparing myself to be disappointed.
Yeah, you can watch it without me. I don't want to watch it.
All right.
It's a horror. I don't know.
I'll let you know, Dolly. I'll let you know.
Or let Preston watch it, then he can tell us.
There you go. He's capable of that.
All right. So
Yeah.
beautiful book. I hope everyone checks it out. This one is also really cool. What a treasure to the UFO community. Our Leo
I like that
Sprinkle.
one especially. I did read that. I love that book. I really
So,
did.
yeah, I hope
And
you.
my name, that's my name before I changed it
Yeah.
after the
Katie
divorce.
Paige with
It
an
is
I.
updated on the new versions.
So,
It's
yeah,
been a
thanks,
challenge
guys.
getting everything switched over.
I'll tell you what, changing your name is no easy task.
Oh,
Word. I'm there. Okay.
it takes
So,
a couple of years and
yeah.
a lot of battles.
Yes. Big battles. Big battles.
All right.
Okay.
Any last words, guys, that you want to leave it? Refer the listeners to
Yeah,
where
I
they
mean,
can find you. And
Yes.
if you have any questions or comments, you can reach us at RockyMountainRanchResearch.org or KatiePaige.net, which is PAIGE.net,
Mine's TonyAngiola.com.
and TonyAngiola.com. And also tune into the Trifecta Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time live. And what else?
And you're guesting with UAP Studies on Sundays, and your
Oh,
SOR Friday nights at midnight
Yeah.
with Dave Scott.
Right.
Fantastic.
All that.
yeah, cool. Yeah, we love Dave Scott.
I'm gonna try to watch it Wednesday. I'm gonna be there. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So I guess we got to say goodbye. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank
That
you, guys.
was awesome. And I want to thank all you guys who tuned in tonight. We really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful show. Our guests, Katie Paige and Tony Angiola. Amazing. Incredible work with Snippy.
I know. We're
That
gonna have
needed
to
to be
talk more
known.
about when the books come out. You have to come back on and we'll do this again. Okay.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Namaste and Sunny and
Thank you.
everyone. Olivia, you guys are all so amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. You've been watching The Light Gate. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network in I'm so happy to be doing this right now, young lady. Live, New Orleans, United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we're on YouTube. Everybody have a great week. Please stay warm. I know a lot of people are affected. We are keeping you in our minds. We're sending you whatever energy we can, and we're praying that everything is put back the way it needs to be. We love you all. Night, night.